Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching this video as a preview for my lecture called Flipping High School Physics. I'm not trying to copy the YouTube video, although they're very inspiring. The YouTube channel video Flipping Physics, very highly recommended. So the subtitle is what I like to call, short version, a teacher's first approach, because that's what it was, to using flip learning, successes, mistakes, do's and don'ts. Basically, how to flip your class without dying in the way, especially taking that it was the first time implementing this methodology. So let's dive into it. A little bit about me before starting. My name is Luckey Beltra. I'm from Culiacan, Sinaloa, in Mexico. I'm 26 years old. I majored as an industrial and systems engineering. I graduated in 2015 and have just recently graduated from my master's in educational technology. And that's a picture of me and the city that I live in case you didn't know where it is. It's in the northwestern part of Mexico. So basically, how did it all begin? And just to tell a bit something about this preview is trying to do a little bit of what I did to my students, using precisely the flip learning methodology, just like a short preview on the project. It all started in August 2017 when I began teaching in Tec de Monterrey, the Monterrey Institute of Technology, in their high school level. So I began teaching the subject of Energy and Transformation 1, which is another name for Physics 1. It's a course on the 5th semester of high school, which is the 3rd year, which is the last year, because in Mexico we only have 3 years of high school. And in long story short, it's a subject that combines formulas and concepts such as velocity, acceleration, time, movement. It has a lot of formulas and concepts because physics is a science of studying things, basically. And then it has the problem solving part, which is applying all of those concepts and formulas to those famous problems that we know, like the train was going 100 miles per hour, how long it's going to take to stop, and all of those situations that we need to transfer those concepts and formulas into real life situations. So that was the two components of the subject. And the first thing that we noticed, and it was really obvious, was that precisely the combination of both theory and practice was a little bit overwhelming. This means that all of the concepts, which there are plenty, not only their definitions, their formulas, their units, such as velocity is the rate of change between distance and time. So we have distance, time, then they have a unit for speed is kilometers per hour or miles per hour, meters per second. All of that combination, it was a little bit overwhelming to do like the click. So we ended up kind of like that cat, not only the students, but also the teachers. And then we go to our traditional lecture dynamic, which is the teacher arrives, explains the concept, the students, take notes, and concepts and theory. And the first thing that we noticed, and it was really obvious, was the insufficient time to solve problems and questions, because we only have 1 hour of class, and we ended up pretty much looking like that, both teachers and students. And we ended up like finish writing or finish the exercise B or finish it at home, and that was the main situation or the main feeling, and it was constant. Almost all of the sessions. And the conclusion, or what worried us the most, was that most exercises were left for the students to finish outside of the class on their own time. So we ended up having students like that, tired that you could say like finish the exercise in your home, and they were like, okay, is it homework? No, it's not homework really, because you have another homework. And they kind of were mixing, and it's not the same when the student is at home or any other place that they don't have the teacher around, even though there's communication between an email, a message, anything. It's not the same. It really didn't feel the same. So they were left with most of the questions when they were alone, and that kind of was our main problem. Okay, so I asked myself, what can I do to help? I needed a solution. I knew that I needed to do something. So I was studying the master's degree, and on one of my assignments, I ended up finding about the flipped classroom and the flipped learning methodology, and it just felt right. It just felt right. It felt like it was what I was looking for, even though I wasn't looking for it. So the whole online instruction and content and the part of actually having practice and projects during the class, it felt like specifically talking about my subject, although there were a lot of studies in multiple levels of education, multiple subjects, in all kinds of projects and subjects. It really felt like it was made. I know that it's ridiculous, but it really felt like it was made for my subject. That's how I felt. And the basic diagram for the flipped learning, I was really shocked, or I was really excited about trying it, because the students participating in a previous activity, it felt like, no way, the students are not going to do anything that you ask them. They don't even do it in class. That was one of the first ideas that came to my mind. I'm glad they changed my mind, though. So participating in a previous activity, I was like, I do have a previous activity. I have a lot of activities. Although I did have to learn that it didn't work exactly the way that I was hoping for. And then I fell completely in love with this part, which is the center, a more dynamic class, doubts, questions, and practical activities. It was what I was looking for. And then the key part that stole my heart and made me implement this methodology was that the student was expected to manage their own learning process and become more self-taught. And when you're teaching 17 and 18 years old students that you're about to send to college, it really felt like we needed this. So I got excited about applying it and went for it. I took one of my units, which is kinematics. I have around 4 or 5 like big models in my course. And then I took kinematics, which has 7 like subtopics, which are on the picture. And then I flipped them, and they became what I called to my students the 7 units. Okay. I took kinematics because it's probably the most common or the most important model of all the course. So I wanted to go big on that one. And then I took my learning management system, which at the time it was Blackboard. And what I did, I went with the basic. I do have to say, I went with the basic, which is a video made by me, though. They were videos that I created, narrated, and everything. They were short videos, no longer than 5 minutes, and a comprehension quiz. What did the videos include? They included the concepts, definitions, formulas, and pretty much the theory part that I used to explain right at the beginning of the class. Then it took me about, I don't remember really well, but it took around half of my class, which is 30 minutes. So you can say that 30 minutes is not a lot. When you consider that I'm dedicated half of my class to explain that, it really feels like a lot of time. And when I take it into 5 minutes, it really feels the difference using flipped learning. So I did that with the 7 units and a comprehension quiz, just to make sure that the students not only watched the video, but it was a comprehension exercise for them in order to check their knowledge, and also practice for exams and any other testing that they may have, getting used to the questions and applying the concept that they have just understood. They were unlimited, the quizzes, so it wasn't a big deal, or it wasn't a problem for them. There you go. And here's one of my videos, one of my example of videos, which is for URM, which is basically, I'm just going to, oh, sorry. Which is basically just the concepts, the definitions that I would be explaining one time. There you go. The formulas, the definitions, the units, everything was on this. Everything was on the video, and a few examples. So it really felt like my dynamic had changed, and it did change. So the first part was that I assigned the unit corresponding to unit topic. I didn't assign a unit every day, because obviously I didn't have that much topics to give to them. So that was good for my students as they didn't have that much work. Then they would go to our LMS, Blackboard. They would watch the videos of the comprehension quiz as many times as they needed or wanted even. And then my favorite part, which is the teacher begins class with the practical part of the topic, which is what I was really looking for. Okay, then answer students' questions and doubts. And it was really great because it changed the dynamic. The questions were the first part of the class now. They weren't in the end. So I did have plenty of time to answer them. And that was one part. The other part is they were more concrete questions. They were more specific. They were more, I don't want to say smarter, but yes, they were smarter questions because they were questions like, what is acceleration? How can I find acceleration? How is acceleration measured in? Can acceleration be negative? Like really specific questions. What do I do when I have this number? What do I do? And that was the best part of it. I do have to say it. Then we would go on, I'm sorry. Then we would go on solving exercises, doing activities with simulators, experiments. And I want to quote one of my students. We didn't stop writing or working on all of these sessions. And I loved it. And it looks like they loved it too. Okay, so we're doing experiments with simulators, we're doing experiments, we're doing a lot of things in class that they were less frequent on a traditional lecture model, okay? And if necessary, the teacher would continue the same topic in next class. And that gave me a lot of freedom to manage my own topics, to be honest, because I had the better control of everything that I was studying in class. And the students were aware of that. Maybe a topic that is a little bit harder, we required a lot of more sessions, we would continue. And it really created a flow. And if you take a look now, I wrote it as a cycle because it was really a cycle instead of just like a regular timeline. Okay, so it really was a cycle. So the application was 39 students that participated, 4 weeks, and one exam at the end of the unit, which was useful for analyzing results. Although we know it's not this or flipping the units, it's not a direct benefit. It does help. So it does help. So let's see if you're interested in knowing the results. What did my students think? What did they feel? What did the teachers think? And what I like to call my own personal conclusions from the project that really changed my dynamics and the way that I teach from now on. The 9 key points to flip your class. Please make sure to tune in on Tuesday, July the 14th at 5 p.m. US Central Time for the Teaching High School Physics here on FlipTech. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you there.